Lions legend, all-pro captain, center Frank Ragnow announced yesterday he was retiring from the league effective immediately. No final year send-off, no retirement campaign, all that. No, just Frank Ragnow no longer plays football for the Detroit Lions. He is no longer an active NFL player. Now, I want to lead off by saying, before we get into the football elements of this, Frank Ragnow is one of the toughest SOBs to ever play the game of football. You go ahead and look through the injury history of Frank Ragnow. I mean, apparently he had a fractured throat, or I don't know if it was a fractured or I don't know what it was, a sprained throat. I don't know how that happens. Like, I had a sprained ankle like a year ago. I don't know how you sprain this. I figure you just die. He's gone through foot injury, toe injuries. He's been through the ringer, and I kind of was worried a little bit in the back of my mind, like, well, even if he does play, he's pretty long in the tooth, been in the league since 2018. He's dealt with injuries before. He's still really good, but who knows how much longer he's got. But Frank Ragnow, the man, is incredible. He was a great leader. He was on the team during those terrible, terrible Matt Patricia teams. He stuck with it. He got to see the team rise up to be the back-to-back NFC North champs. So I hope he has a great retirement. With that being said, we're in a bit of a tough spot now, because it's not just that we now lose our all-pro center. We also lost Kevin Zeitler in the offseason. So that's two very good offensive linemen that were obviously very productive for you last year that you don't have in an offense that is primarily run first, with a quarterback that is primarily play action, big threat. I'm not saying all this to say, okay, the season's over, let's throw it all in the garbage. I am to say that this is probably the worst offseason news the Lions have had pretty much since the new administration took over. Like, outside of, I guess you could say, the both coordinators leaving, honestly, this is probably worse, because this is an actual talent that you've had through different coaches, through different coordinators, through everything, that has consistently been very good for you. Now, I do want to say, because there is an element of the fan base that has this weird sense of, like, we're waiting for the bottom to fall out for this team. And look, do I wish we had a backup all-pro center to be able to take over for Frank Ragnow retiring? Yes, I do. Does anybody, and I mean literally any NFL team or any team, we can include the UFL, does any team have a backup for a surefire Hall of Fame all-pro center? If your answer is yes, stop lying. If your answer is no, that's life. You're going to lose these guys. There's a reason that Brad Holmes, the past at least 2 drafts, I think even going back further, has drafted at least one offensive lineman every year, and why teams, frankly, should always be drafting offensive linemen, because they typically do not, play in the league for 10-plus seasons. Sometimes they do. I mean, Taylor Decker is going to be coming up on 10 years. He was drafted in 2016, but he's a warhorse too. Who knows how much longer he's going to have? This might be his final go-around. The Lions have drafted very well in terms of the position need of offensive line. You're probably going to see Graham Glasgow, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, all over the place in a sense. Does that bode well? Not necessarily, but it also does not make me, want to, shiver me timbers, because, well, Christian Mahogany was really good last year. Tate Ratledge was a highly touted offensive line prospect. And Graham Glasgow, he's been a vet of the league for a pretty long time. He was a consistent offensive line guy that we had this past season. He's played some center. I know the results are not all pro center worthy, but he's played center before. So at the very least, you have a veteran who has some experience at the position. As far as, the whole, are we now basically walking on eggshells with this season? I'll just say this. Every year around this time of this offseason, fans slash media slash commentators, they will find the thing that is wrong with your team. And that will be the largest issue in the history of the universe. Last year was wide receiver 3. The year before that, it was defensive coordinator. The year before that, it was your head coach is crazy. I don't like every year. Once you kind of run out of like, okay, there's clearly not going to be a whole lot of roster movement to this point. You're probably, I mean, there's not really another all pro center out there you can just go ahead and sign or trade for. That's probably not going to happen. So what are we left with? We're left with a team that obviously has flaws, as every single team in the league does. But yet, you have a really good coaching staff. You have a really good general manager. You have a really good quarterback. You have a really good offense as far as weapons go. And overall, you do still have a really good offensive line. I don't think this team has gone from basically the potential NFC North champs for a third straight year to 5-12, sell at the deadline. I don't think we're at that point. But I also don't think it's, all hunky-dory. Losing Frank Ragnow sucks. It really does suck. It does not make your team better. How much worse does it make you? 1 or 2 games, maybe 3. Maybe instead of going 13-4, you go 10-7 or 11-4 or 11-4, please. 11-6. I don't know. I mean, look, did I expect the team to go 15-2 when they lost Aiden Hutchinson? No, but they did. Frankly, here's another one. Did I expect the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl when Jason Kelce retired? No. I don't think most people did. That's not to say that this is the exact same transaction here. Jason Kelce, I believe, retired right at the end of the season, so the team had more of a, pathway to go from there, whereas this happening just as OTAs are getting started. But I'm not ready to just say, okay, this season is a wash. Let's all go crazy and say, okay, the team is going to be terrible. Jared Goff is going to suck because he doesn't have an offensive line. I'm not ready to go there. However, would I appreciate if just a move, a depth move, even at another veteran center or a guy off a practice squad or even a sneaky trade, some guy on a team, whatever the case, I wouldn't be opposed to that in principle. However, once again, you're kind of at that point in the offseason. Your flaws are your flaws. You're just going to have to let the season play. Will it be, another, 11 game win streak like it was last year? Probably not. Will it be, a 5-game losing streak? Also probably not. Ultimately, it's June. You don't know what the team is going to look like. I don't know what the team is going to look like. I don't know what other teams are going to look like. For all we know, this is going to be, a quote-unquote blessing in disguise because Tate Ratledge will be an all-pro rookie or something. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case before people say that I'm just trying to cope here. I'm just saying, I don't know. Nobody knows. It's June. But it sucks. You lose Frank Ragnow. He is obviously an instrumental part on your team and especially your offensive line. But the guy was playing hurt pretty much the last couple of years. And he was still really good, which is crazy. So we knew he was on borrowed time, and the borrowed time has run out. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.